I swear, the room must have frozen mid-breath when Netflix executives finally leaned forward and asked the one question Meghan Markle had been dreading like a nightmare that keeps coming back. Show us the numbers. Not the cute numbers, not the made-for-Instagram numbers, the real, scary, brutally honest sales figures for American Riviera Orchard. And from what insiders are whispering, that's the exact moment everything began to crack wide open. Because Meghan, in a move that is so perfectly painfully Meghan, allegedly refused. Completely refused. She looked the actual executives of the world's biggest streaming platform in the face and essentially said no. Not later, not we're analyzing, not we're preparing a report, just no. Imagine that for a second. Netflix, the same company whose decisions can literally change the careers of actors overnight, the same company that made her and Harry relevant again after the royal exit, asking for something extremely basic, sales metrics, and she shuts the door in their face, as if they're some random interns begging for access. Sources claim Meghan framed her refusal like she was protecting some billion-dollar empire from jealous corporate sharks. Like Netflix was desperately trying to peek inside her wildly successful business and she had to guard her secrets. But the real story, according to people circling this drama, it was the opposite of glamorous. Either the numbers were so devastating she panicked, or she actually believed the numbers were so amazing, Netflix didn't deserve to see them unless they committed to future deals. Either way, it was the beginning of the end. Netflix had tried. They'd offered social media support, marketing help, even space inside their new retail experience. And Meghan refused everything while presenting herself like the visionary CEO who doesn't need guidance, doesn't need analytics, doesn't need accountability. And Netflix, smart, patient, and absolutely not desperate, finally said, enough. Honestly, the writing had been on the wall from the moment American Riviera Orchard launched in that now infamous disaster, where the brand name wasn't even trademarked, the website barely worked, and the promo videos looked like they were edited on a Sunday afternoon by someone who had a brunch reservation they were running late for. Harry's money funded everything, and yet nothing looked luxury, nothing looked serious, nothing looked like the work of a real businesswoman. It all felt like a curated Instagram dream that collapses the second anyone asks an actual business question. Netflix really did try to position her as this groundbreaking, stylish entrepreneur ready to reinvent the lifestyle space. They tried, but influence doesn't matter if the shelves remain full. Glamour means nothing if consumers aren't clicking add to cart. And when a business partner asks for proof that an investment is working, refusing to give the numbers screams one thing louder than anything else. There is nothing worth seeing. And those numbers, whatever they were, set off a chain reaction no one was ready for. Because then came the humiliation that spread through Hollywood like wildfire. Netflix House, their big, shiny, highly curated retail experience opening in Dallas on December 11th, had space for everything. Stranger Things merch, Squid Game collectibles, Bridgerton displays, everything that represents Netflix's success story. But guess what wasn't there? Not a single jar of Meghan's jam. Not one scented candle. Not even a pity shelf in a corner labeled American Riviera Orchard. Completely erased. And this wasn't some oversight. This wasn't a products weren't ready situation. This was a decision. A deliberate, very public decision to leave her out of the Netflix winner's circle. What makes this even crueler? Netflix House isn't even a real store. It's an experience. A PR monster. A place that exists purely to make noise, trends, TikTok, and social media buzz. They weren't worried about inventory or profitability. They literally could have thrown a few jars of jam in there and nobody would have cared if they sold or not. It wouldn't have cost Netflix a penny of stress, but they chose not to. They chose to exclude her even when including her would have been effortless. That speaks louder than any press release ever could. And as all this was unfolding, Meghan continued performing in interviews with her signature political style pivoting whenever someone asked for actual numbers. Emma from Bloomberg, same thing, smiling, talking in circles, announcing how everything sold out without mentioning how many units were actually made. Because let's be honest, if you make 10 jars of jam and sell 10, congrats. You technically sold out. But that's not business. That's hobby territory. Real partners expect volume, numbers, plans. Meghan offered none. Insiders say her reasoning for hiding the data was supposedly twofold. 1, she believed Netflix would be jealous of her success. 2, she knew the truth would ruin the fantasy. Let's be real. Netflix is not jealous of a lifestyle brand selling jam out of Montecito. They're an entertainment empire. If her brand was truly thriving, Netflix would have boosted it further because her success would have made their partnership look brilliant. But the truth that Meghan allegedly didn't want exposed was brutal. Major retailers rejected her. Online sales were embarrassingly low. The PR packages she sent to celebrity friends created more Instagram noise than actual consumer demand. hand, American Riviera Orchard wasn't a real business. It was a curated aesthetic. And behind the scenes, it gets worse. She pitched her products to every major retailer: Target, Macy's, Nordstrom, Bloomingdale's, Kohl's, and every single one of them said, no, not this season, not ever. During the biggest retail season of the year, when stores are desperate for new brands that can drive traffic, not a single retailer wanted Meghan's products. That alone is catastrophic. Why? Because retailers look at one thing: buying behavior. And the data must have been so bad, so empty, so uninterested that they refused to gamble on her name, a name that once symbolized global fascination. Meanwhile, other celebrity lifestyle brands flourish because people actually want what they sell. Gwyneth Paltrow, Jessica Alba, Rihanna, Selena Gomez, Blake Lively. These women built brands on authenticity and consumer trust. Meghan, on the other hand, carried royal adjacency, but none of the relatability or consistency that makes customers invest. Her shifting victim narratives, her endless public drama, the constant blame shifting, it all slowly pushed consumers away. And you can't run a retail business when even the people who like you don't buy anything. And then came her next self-inflicted blow, the Amazon Cameo disaster. She had one job. One. Cameos exist for surprise, for excitement, for that OMG did you see who showed up moment that gets people talking. And Meghan leaked her own cameo before the film even came close to release. Hollywood was stunned. Who does that? Every studio understands secrecy around cameos is sacred. It's marketing gold. But Meghan, craving the spotlight, announced her appearance early, completely ruining its purpose. Amazon was furious. Other studios backed off. Nobody wanted someone who couldn't follow the simplest professional protocol. Netflix noticed. They saw the fallout. They saw her jeopardize a studio relationship out of pure ego, and they began questioning their own partnership with her. But then came the moment that ended everything. Meghan started blaming Netflix executives for the entire American Riviera Orchard concept, claiming it wasn't even her idea. The same brand she insisted earlier was her dream vision. It was classic Meghan. When success is possible, it's mine. When failure arrives, it was someone else's idea. Spotify, the foundation, the royal drama. It's always someone else's fault. Always. But this time, there was nobody left to blame. She refused help. She refused transparency. She refused collaboration. She refused direction. She refused accountability. So when retailers rejected her, when Netflix excluded her, when public interest faded, she had no shield left. Even gossip columnists grew tired. Rob Shooter revealed Meghan's engagement collapsed from 100% to 20%. Not even the haters cared anymore. She lost the casual audience, the group every celebrity relies on to stay culturally relevant. That's how you fade, slowly, quietly, without even scandal to keep you alive. Even the Netflix holiday promo became a meme for the wrong reasons. There she was, wandering an orchard in beige sweaters, promoting a Christmas special that didn't look remotely festive. Brown stockings, taupe decorations, a joyless aesthetic that screamed California branding instead of Christmas warmth. And she dropped it the same week Princess Catherine hosts her annual royal Christmas concert, a beloved classy tradition watched by millions. Catherine announced Kate Winslet as a guest. Meghan announced beige stockings. Netflix didn't even repost Meghan's promo. Silence. And silence in Hollywood? That's louder than any statement. Netflix's strategy now is subtle, surgical, and brutal. Death by 1,000 cuts. No public breakup, no announcement. Just slowly removing her from everything until she becomes a footnote. Her products removed, her projects unpromoted, her deal quietly not renewed, her relevance fading with every week. And Meghan, posting happily like everything is fine. But the world sees it, Hollywood sees it, retail sees it, even her supporters see it. American Riviera Orchard is done. The brand was never real. It was a fantasy, a lifestyle filter disguised as entrepreneurship. And now the real question is, how will she explain this to Harry? Because at some point, even he has to wonder why every project collapses the same way. And the wildest part in all this? While Meghan continues posting beige-soaked holiday pictures and curated orchard clips, Netflix is quietly detaching itself from her like a surgeon removing a tumor without making a sound. It's actually chilling when you look closely. Every move they're making is slow, calculated, almost surgical, like they don't even want to give her the satisfaction of blaming them publicly, so they're letting her drown in her own silence. First, they cut her from the retail lineup, then they stopped pushing her content, then insiders started whispering that her first look deal, the golden partnership she once flaunted as proof she didn't need the royal family, is essentially dead. Not officially dead, not publicly dead, but quietly expired like milk in the back of the fridge that nobody even bothers to check. The way Netflix is doing this is honestly kind of brilliant. They're avoiding drama. They're avoiding confrontation. They're avoiding the PR storm Meghan usually brings with her. They're simply letting her fade, letting the partnership become irrelevant, letting it dissolve naturally because there's nothing left to hold on to. And Meghan, oh Meghan, she's still trying to pretend everything is glittery and thriving. posting holiday clips, arranging stockings, smiling at the camera with that carefully curated, everything is perfect expression. But everyone can see the cracks. Everyone can see the desperation in the way she keeps trying to prove she still has star power. But it's slipping. Her numbers aren't just dropping, they're evaporating. Even Rob Shooter, a man whose bank account literally depends on celebrity relevance, admitted Meghan's engagement fell off a cliff. It's not hate anymore, it's not love, it's not debate, it's not obsession. It's worse than all of that, it's apathy. People don't care, they don't click, they don't argue, they don't defend, they don't hate watch, they simply scroll past like she's yesterday's news. It's a cycle the world has watched far too many times now, and it's finally catching up with her. The victim narrative that worked during the Oprah interview doesn't hit the same anymore. The world is tired, the internet is exhausted. Even gossip media, which thrives on people like her, has stopped biting. You could feel the shift. You could see how Meghan's carefully staged holiday promo didn't generate excitement, curiosity, or warmth. It generated confusion, criticism, eye rolls, because people expected something festive, magical, joyful, and instead got neutral-toned monotony. Even worse, Netflix didn't repost it. Not a story, not a mention, nothing. Silence. The kind of silence that screams louder than announcements. This whole situation is basically Netflix telling the world without saying a word, we're done. No more business, no more brand partnership, no more collaboration, no more hype, just a slow removal, a quiet exit, a soft fade. The deals dried up, the public moved on, the brands pulled out. The audience lost interest. American Riviera Orchard was supposed to prove she could be the next Gwyneth Paltrow. Instead, it proved she couldn't even get one retailer to say yes. That's not just failure, that's implosion. And now the question everyone's whispering, in Hollywood, in media circles, in royal commentary, in gossip communities, is painfully simple. What now? Where does Meghan go from here? What's the next pivot? Who's the next person she'll blame? How will she reinvent the narrative yet again? Because one thing is certain, the collapse is real. The consequences are real. The silence from her partners is real. The loss of interest is real. And this time she can't hide it behind palace walls, press manipulation, or curated lighting. This is public. This is global. This is undeniable. This is the end of American Riviera Orchard. Maybe even the end of the Meghan Markle mogul era altogether. But knowing Meghan, she'll definitely find a way to spin it.